0 subs? Well, here's how to make $10,000 a month using a YouTube micro channel. You need to understand that YouTube is changing and that we are in a new era. Views don't matter, having a fancy camera doesn't matter, and having crazy edits doesn't matter either. The richest YouTubers are no longer getting paid by YouTube to make content. Instead, they're using their audience to sell a digital product. Most people think you have to be this high-up expert to do this, but the truth is that you can start today. I did this myself and it allowed me to make $10,000 in 32 days restarting from scratch. And I also have clients like Hamza who managed to make $30,000 a month getting 30 to 100 views per video 6 months after starting posting content. Now in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 5P format that I use to actually create content that signs customers. To begin, I want to start by explaining what the one thing is that actually takes somebody from being an absolute random stranger to paying you. In direct correlation to the amount of time that somebody spends with us is the likability that they gain for us. There's something called Stockholm Syndrome that explains this perfectly. Even when being held against their will, humans begin to like the person that is doing this to them. This applies to not only YouTube, all social media, but also how governments create propaganda in order to control the masses. Fundamentally, all we are trying to do is create likability and trust so that we can change the beliefs around a certain topic that people have, and if we can do this and it aligns to the product that we're selling, people are going to see us as the next best option in order to actually get that problem solved. The people that make the most money online aren't the people that create the most entertaining content or the people that create the most educational content. It's the people that can create the content that resonates with you the most in your heart and changes your beliefs about what you thought was possible. Now, the tricky part to actually doing this is that we have to understand we have very limited time when we're actually crafting YouTube videos. In order to keep a viewer's attention, we're competing against the YouTube sidebar, other social media apps, friends and families, and anything else in the outside world. In order to win this battle, we have to combine things that give our viewer dopamine with things that change their beliefs in order to actually get to the greater good and desired result that they actually watched our content for in the first place. It's pretty much like giving somebody the carrot that they know they need, but wrapping it in chocolate so they want to take a bite. Now, when it comes to actually implementing this, the first of the 5 Ps is going to be the point of our video. We're going to keep this extremely simple. Whether you're a high-level content creator like Mr. Beast or just starting, the common trend that works on YouTube is immediately matching the viewer's expectation of why they actually clicked on the video in the first place. The best way by far to do this is just by restating the title that they said and visually matching whatever you have in the thumbnail to the first frame of the video. When we do this, the viewer knows that we are not going to be wasting their time with the video, and as a result of that, we buy ourselves an additional 5 to 10 seconds to demonstrate that, hey, we are actually going to deliver on everything we said we were. This is where we move into the second P, which stands for proof. Information is only as valuable as the person that it is coming from. I could tell you how to play basketball exactly like Michael Jordan with absolutely no difference, except you listen to Michael Jordan and not me. The reason why is because he has a proven track record of being outstanding and really good at achieving the desired result that the viewer has. So after we've restated the point and visually met the expectation that the viewer has set, we're then going to show proof that we are the best person to actually teach them this. We're going to keep this extremely simple. It's just going to be a one-liner statement about exactly how we actually achieve this in our own lives. When it comes to making your proof believable and effective, there are 2 elements to it. The first is making it quantitative and the second is making it visual. Let's say I'm trying to help you shoot free throws in basketball. I could say you can shoot amazing free throws and they're going to be super good, or I could tell you that you're going to score free throws at 99%. I could give you the exact same product or content inside the video, however, you're a lot more likely to actually desire the one that's tangible because you can see how it exists in your reality. When you don't do this, great could mean different things to different people, and as a result of it, it doesn't have that hard-hitting impact that a number would. Second, we have visual proof. When you can show an image or video of you in the exact same state that you stated in the point of your video, it's going to allow the viewer to connect with what the experience you're going to talk about in the given video is going to be. If we can do those 2 things properly, we've nailed the proof part and we can move into the third step, which is going to be pain. The goal of pain is to explain how we either learned or earned the lesson that we're going to be talking about in this video. So in the previous section, we shared the proof of how we actually achieved this, but now what we're going to do is we're going to explain how many hours of work it took, how many years of sacrifice, or what the input was in order to make it work. When it comes to making this effective, we have 2 different factors. The first one is going to be quantitative again, the second one is going to be relevant. So for example, if we were talking about the free throws, we could say, hey, I spent 20 hours learning how to shoot these free throws, or we could say that I shot 576 free throws in order to learn this lesson. The second one is a lot more relevant to the current situation and the point and the proof we presented. So as a result of that, it is going to be a lot more hard hitting in the messaging. So now we've bought ourselves just enough time to go into the fourth P, which is going to be process. And pretty much all this means is you want to wrap up everything you spoke about in the first three Ps into a format that you can deliver in the video that has a high believability of success. This can come in many different shapes and sizes. For example, you could have a challenge where for 30 days you document your live experience, or you could have a framework that you're sharing with them, or you could have a lecture, or you could have a lesson, or you can have a raw talk. But pretty much what you need to do is, according to the first three Ps, find a style of video that is going to align with the overall topic and allow the viewer to see themselves actually retaining the lesson and then making a change in their behavior, which is the definition of learning as a result of watching the video you've made. As a bonus tip to doing this better, the shock value is extremely important, so something that I like to do is come up with a unique name that nobody's ever heard before, kind of like the 5P format. When you do this, it allows you to actually overwrite the current beliefs that the viewer has in their mind, because instead of being the same old step framework or step lesson, you are now actually something new and different, and as a result of that, have the ability to actually prove yourself with this new kind of idea that you're presenting, and then because of that, actually convert somebody into whatever you're selling. And that brings us to the fifth and final P, which is actually the process. And I really wish that story started with the letter P because it would fit in a lot better. But pretty much all we're going to do is tell them about our experience of how we actually learned or earned this lesson. One of my favorite quotes about making content is from the American president Theodore Roosevelt that says, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." In the first three Ps, we explained the summary of everything that we actually went through to get this desired result. But now what we want to do is we want to expand on that. And the goal to doing this is to get the viewer to more emotionally buy into the video that we're creating. The simple framework I follow for the process step is going to be called the hero's journey. Now, a lot of people use the hero's journey framework in different ways, but the way that I found to work the most effective is something like this. You want to start by going into excruciating detail about your absolute lowest low. You want to talk about what the time was, what the stakes of the situation were if you failed, and pretty much get the viewer into your shoes as much as possible. Then from that point on, the second step in the hero's journey framework is going to be you actually explaining whatever supernatural guide came down to help you, whether that was from a god or religious figure, whether that was from a mentor or somebody in your life, or whether that was just a coincidence of information. You have to explain the one moment of breakthrough where you actually realize that you need to make a change. After you've done that, you want to go through the Rocky phase, where you pretty much want to summarize the entire process that you actually went through for the majority, so the 80% of this entire story, to actually learn and develop this skill. And I know this is counterintuitive because a lot of people think you have to go into excruciating detail about the plan you ran and all these things, but again, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So it's very important that we start by just going really quickly over that and focusing on what we actually got from it. This is where we go to the next section, where we overcome whatever big battle we were initially facing and actually come to terms with it. Typically, this moment has a point of uncertainty, which is then resolved by just the natural process of all the work you put in the previous section. And then finally, you go into the point where you quote unquote return with the elixir, as the framework calls it, which pretty much just means you are coming back to life and sharing all the lessons that you actually learned. After you have done that, you have now completely finished the 5P format and can dive into whatever information that you actually want to cover in the video without having to worry about retention editing or what you're actually going to say, how you're going to say it. You can just sit down, be raw, be yourself, and document the process, because you've got the viewer to buy into you and the overall story of what you're showing. Remember, the 20% of the video that leads to 80% of the results is the hook, and the 5P format is the best way to do that. Now, if you enjoyed this video, comment below your micro niche and I'll show you exactly how to implement the 5P format with it. Outside of that, I hope the value you got from this video is worth the time that you spent, and I'll see you in the next one.